Oh, well, hello, friends.
Oh, hi. Episode 679, Brain Kitty Podcast. Sarah and Susie here.
What if people didn't know that this was a break? I
hope they don't. I hope this is their first time listening and we have a million gazillion new followers or listeners.
First time listeners.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Where have you guys been?
Hey.
We've been doing this for quite some time.
But maybe it is first time listeners because big moment. For the last maybe 7 years, my Instagram followers has been stuck at, and I don't mean to brag, this just is what it is. I was on TV, people. 174,000.
Really? It was stuck there?
It's like 7 years.
7 years.
However long. I'm just making up numbers now. For a long enough time. Stuck like that.
Yeah.
Just yesterday. Click. 175.
No.
Which I only noticed because I think it's a prettier number. It looks better.
It is way better.
It looks nice.
Wonder what took so long, Sarah.
I don't know. There was a very popular TikTok of me just doing a voiceover to with that old lady filter.
The WAP thing?
Yeah.
Man, they love that.
Like a mill.
A mill? That is so much. Do you get paid for those you've monetized?
Like barely. Like pennies.
How much are we talking? $15?
Even probably. Like
that's
for
nice.
A post that's like,
hey, that's what we call found money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for somebody who loses it often.
You do not. You're so frugal.
Nice. You're right. I am frugal. Too much. Sometimes I wonder if my frugal way of being
frugality
in that, like, my mom is like, why do you have a poor mentality? You're going to be poor for forever.
What?
Like, if you have if you're like always scraping to make by and make it and never like, oh, I'm fine, everything's okay, then like you'll always be like scraping by.
Well, okay, fair. I think that's a fair point, but it's hard if you grew up with that.
Yeah.
In particular, it's like Oprah. I remember seeing her. I think I told you on Larry King, and this is after she's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And she said that she just got to the point where she knew like everything would always be okay.
Oh my gosh.
You're
Oprah,
a billionaire.
You're Holmes and Sausalito, girl.
But because she grew up so incredibly poor, it was just embedded, hardwired in there.
Yeah, it is hardwired in there. Don't
but
you feel like that?
Yes, that's why I relate to what you said. But I can understand what your mom's saying. It's a fair point that like you can't just sit in that and worry, and because then you're going to miss out on stuff.
I heard somebody once say, and I don't. This is like, a loose.
As always.
Analogy, whatever, as always. But I didn't make this one up. This isn't me. But somebody said, like, imagine you are on a date with money. Like, how would you treat it? Like, if you're sitting across from, like, money on a date, like, how would you, if you're, like, always worried that it's going to disappear, you'd probably be like, weird.
Too clingy.
Yeah.
Too possessive.
But you can't be, like, too much, like, oh, I don't care, whatever. It's like, you
okay.
Be, like, interested. So they thought about it, like this guy proposed that maybe we think about it, like, if we were dating.
Like we were in a relationship with it or something.
Yeah, in a relationship with it.
Okay, like you got to play coy a little bit.
Treat it well, but don't feel like it's like, if you lose it, like you're never going to have any ever again. I don't know, something like that.
All right. Yeah, I'll try that. That's interesting.
I don't know, maybe that holds up or something.
Hey, it couldn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, if you're watching this online, my gosh, Sarah, for the first time in what feels like years, has straight hair in my presence, and I can't get over it. I feel like I've gone back in time, I swear.
Really?
Yeah.
I felt like that today. In the car, I was like flipping it around. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a fancy Orange County lady.
I mean, because for most of the time I've known you, you've been a straight-haired lady.
Yes.
But what do they call that? Blowout?
Yeah, blowout queen.
Blowout queen.
I threw the queen on there. They don't.
And then after your divorce, you were like, F it, right? Is that how that went?
Yeah. Well,
you became a curly girl.
Yeah.
But isn't it true that the curly girl community would be really upset to know that you've betrayed them today?
Yeah, probably.
Isn't that funny? Why do they get so weird about it?
Here's what they need to know. Is that I live in a place that's really dry. And so this, I don't know, the changes in the temperature recently have made my hair like extra delicate and fragile. And so curly hair just breaks more. And so sometimes I like straighten it and then I don't do it for like 2 weeks. It's kind of like a protective hairstyle, if you will.
Okay.
And then I could just leave it and not do anything. But like once every 6 months to a year.
Well, yeah, so that's what I mean.
Down.
Like, if you told them, what would they think?
Well, I don't tell them, Susie.
I know. Hypothetically.
Okay, hypothetically. Yeah, hypothetically, I would not want them to know because I don't know, I feel like people are very, like, I get it because...
I don't. That's what I'm trying to find out.
So, as somebody who obviously has always had curly hair, but then you look at, there's a very... there's definitely a beauty standard of like smooth hair that's like looks this certain way.
Yeah.
And if we've talked about this before, that most times when women with curly hair are in a movie or featured in a TV show or something, they're always like batshit crazy or like the silly best friend.
Yeah.
Never like the main character, like
the
very
clueless girl.
Yeah.
Whatever
Ty.
her name is.
We're like Ty. Exactly, like a project. And so I feel like, and it always felt like we didn't belong. So I think that when and this was kind of like in the last maybe like 5 or 6 years, I don't know if it was social media, a little bit of like COVID, pandemic, being inside, like not having, or needing to do your hair as much.
Yeah.
Kind of led to like more of this like natural hair. And maybe even just that, like the embracing of natural. And let me be really clear. This is a white girl perspective. This is not taking into consideration anybody who has been like felt any sort of like, I don't know, been marginalized for their hair, like felt like they're
Heck yeah.
You know,
yes,
discriminated against.
Totally different.
Because of their, so totally different experience.
Yeah.
And, so there's been like this, like, oh, we're going to like wear our hair naturally curly, white girls. And, so maybe it's like a club that now we're like.
So then if you do a blowout, they're like,
yeah,
how dare
not
you?
in a fucking club anymore.
Yeah, you're trying to be the star of Clueless.
Yeah.
We want
like,
supporting
right.
actresses only.
So that then we grow in our numbers so we become.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for illuminating that.
I don't know.
Subculture.
This is Sarah's got a theory. I don't freaking know. But
I won't tell them.
I do feel like in the and you know, it's always a nice reminder. Anytime I feel like I'm losing all my anxiety is always attached to my hair. I'm always like, oh my God, my hair's falling out. Because, you know, sometimes when you don't take care of yourself, it does.
I had a dream about that the other night. You know how we talk about teeth falling out? I had one about my hair falling out because I'm always thinking about that.
Yeah, see, so that's how anxiety can present itself. Sometimes if I just need a reminder, I just blow dry it, and I'm like, okay, we're good. We are good. We are fine.
Even if half your hair fell out, you'd still have more than I do.
You know, anxiety affects people in weird ways. It's like my own version of body dysmorphia. But
Sarah has hair dysmorphia.
I do. I'm like, it's all falling out. But, you know, it does get thinner with age, so you gotta do some shit. So.
Okay. Good to know.
What did I want to talk to you about today that's like real things?
I know. One real thing I absolutely want to talk about is I hope you guys have tried Caraway bakeware and cookware.
I was just talking to Eli about this.
What did you tell him? Because it's freaking great.
We got a stand mixer, so now we're like really concerned about what kind of other like kitchen stuff we have, and I want it all matching.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
You know, we got to talk about Caraway and how
that
cream color white. Oh, I think they call it gray, though.
Oh, I have some of the gray. I like that a lot.
It's so beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can pick the color. So, like, if you want it to be coordinated with your kitchen or your other bakeware and cookware, you can get that. It is so cute. And since we got that wild yellow stove, I got all the saucepans and stuff. And, I mean... It looks like what did you say, fancy or Orange County lady?
Yes.
I feel like that about my Caraway.
Yes. Oh.
And it's chemical free. So the non-stick, but they don't use the toxic chemicals, which I very much love and is so hard to find. And it's so effective. That stuff slips right out. All my baked goods. And as you know, I did the test. I tried.
Yes, I love that. I think about that every time I bake banana bread.
And it's unbelievable. I don't know how they do it, but the ceramic, it's naturally slick surface. And so you don't have to use like a bunch of oil or butter or anything. It just falls right out. Visit carawayhome.com/braincandy to take advantage of this limited time offer for 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/braincandy or use code braincandy at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern and made beautiful and made to last, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, Susie.
Yes.
Have you seen the Netflix limited miniseries documentary thing, Don't Pick Up the Phone?
Ugh. Yes, Sarah.
Susie, how have we never talked about this story on here ever?
I know. I didn't even know about it.
This is so right up our alley.
And so disturbing. I had to turn it off. It really upset me.
It is so disturbing. So, for those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about, the documentary is like a 4-part miniseries on Netflix called Don't Pick Up the Phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about it's hard to even call it a hoax. That feels like not the appropriate word for it.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hoax.
A series of crimes that took place starting in 1994 and really coming to a head in like early 2000s. That's the first one, so it was 1994. I couldn't believe it.
I didn't realize that. So this went on for more than 10 years.
More than 10 years this went on.
Unbelievable.
Yes. So, so what happened is people who were working at like a fast food restaurant like McDonald's would receive a phone call, and it would be from a police officer, and the police officer would say, "May I speak to your manager, assistant manager, whoever's on duty?" And then they would say, "We have information that an employee has committed a crime. There's an employee," and they give a very loose description of a female employee. A female employee, average height, brown hair, medium build, or something. And they go, "Oh, we have that person," because what?
It's
every
pretty
person.
Much, yeah, exactly.
And they even there was even a situation where he gave a description, didn't even match the woman, and he still was like, "Yep, that's her." And so he would call, and then he would tell the manager to bring that employee into the back room, and then he would say, the person posing as the police officer would say, "Okay, we can either, ask her if she would like to either do that. We believe that she stole money from a patron, like stole money from somebody at the restaurant, or stole money from the register, something." And they would all be small increments, $20, $50. And then they would say, we are going to need to strip search her. We can either have her come down to the station, or you can have her strip search her right there. And all the women who are like 18 years old don't want to go down to the police station. So they're like, I guess just do it here. And in a lot of the situations, things really escalated to the point where women like fully disrobed. There were some times where they were instructed to do jumping jacks. There were some women that were
what about how they
had
would
their crevices checked? That's how they put it in the documentary.
They would have the manager remove the clothing from the office. So like even if there were some way to get out, they would be completely naked if they left.
Like trapped.
Yeah.
Or one guy, I told her to go put the clothes in her car.
Yeah.
It's very terrifying.
Remember that one early on where the manager, he said, you need to find like a male to do it. And she had to call her fiance in, or she didn't have to, but she thought she did. And so she called her fiance in, and he had to do it. And he's like this middle-aged man checking her body for money she didn't take.
Right.
And
could you imagine, like, I would never comply. If somebody were telling me on the phone, you need to do this, I'd be like,
I mean, that's what I felt, but maybe that's just what we think. Because then I think, why did they do it? But they're vulnerable, and they thought they had to, and they thought it was the police. When you think it's the police, it really does change your willingness to participate, because you think, well, if I don't, I'm going to be arrested.
Using very like cop language.
Yeah.
Using terminology that's definitely like police would use details that were, like, you know, names of the police station that was right by where the restaurant was. So they really like believed like this is a cop. And then they would say, we have somebody from corporate with us. So you feel like there's a room full of authority figures.
Yeah.
Yes. And really terrifying. And the kind of person who's like just trying to do the right thing. They all seemed like assistant manager types.
Yeah. Right. Well, did you like, part of what made it so disturbing was all the surveillance footage. I mean, they blurred out the privates and stuff, but like you could actually see it unfolding, and these young women, and practically girls, probably in some cases they were girls, because probably some of them were 16 or whatever, and just how scary that would be.
Yeah.
How many did they do over that period of time?
Over 100. I want to say it was 100 different restaurants at least. So I think there were more. And what was really interesting is that even though the police were able to, they were able to find where the calls were coming from. Somebody was smart enough to do like a star 69 thing that led them to a phone booth in Florida. So they got the area, and they knew it was a phone booth, and they also knew the person calling was using calling cards. But at the time, you couldn't trace calling cards. Then there were some laws that changed that then allowed you to trace calling cards and where the phone calls came from. So they found out where the phone call came from, or found the person who bought the calling cards. Then they searched his house, found a calling card, found that it was linked to this crime. This individual was never charged.
Yeah, why
there wasn't
is that?
enough. The DA did not want to go after it and did not want to pursue.
Why?
There have been multiple times where the people who participated in the people on the other end of the phone who were telling them to take their clothes off and do jumping jacks and this and the other, they were tried and they were convicted and found guilty in some situations.
You talking about the managers?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Wow, they're victims
to this day,
too, though.
The DA have not filed charges against the person who's making the phone call. They don't have enough evidence, they say. And they say that it's not him. Like, the judge threw it out and said, like, it comes down to, like, being a hoax phone call. It's like if somebody calls you and tells you to do something, it's on the person who's doing it. Like,
wow, that's messed up.
It's so messed up. And one of the victims, she ended up suing McDonald's, and she won.
Yes.
For $6 million, and I think rightfully so, because McDonald's had 12 other cases where this happened, and they didn't warn any of the other employees enough. Like, hey, just so you know, this creepy thing is happening.
Yeah.
The end of the documentary, the final scenes, it says, like, this guy has not been...
Did they show his picture and his name and stuff, or what?
Yeah, his name is out there.
What's he seem like?
Daniel something. Oh, guess what he does? He's a correctional officer. Yes. That's why, and he gets off on power, and he would go on these ride-alongs. They found his journal, and in his journal, he writes down all these things like, went on a high-speed chase, 165 miles an hour, did another high-speed chase, 140, hit up to 145 miles an hour. This guy's cuckoo crazy and obsessed with being a cop.
Is he fired?
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
He better be now.
This is a terrible story that you're sharing. I can't get over this.
I know, Suze.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so...
That's why when you said you didn't watch the rest, I was like...
Yeah, I Googled it, but I didn't know he was a correction officer. Are we to assume that this was just like his kink?
I think it's more than a kink. This is like this falls into sexual assault. This is like a power. You know how sexual assault is not about sex, it's about power. And
so you're saying his kink is power then?
Yeah. I don't think that this guy is, I don't know. It's hard to think that he's actually getting off on this. Like, I don't think he's like at the payphone jerking off.
But he never did it with a boy employee or a male employee.
Yeah. I think he's becoming aroused by the fact that the power of it is making him feel.
But if it's not at all about lust and desire, then you wouldn't care what type of person that you're doing the strip search on. You get it?
Yeah, I do, but I feel like in the same way, it's like how there's a preference.
Mm-hmm. But you don't see it as sexual.
Like, in the same way, I think a sexual predator, what he's doing is sexual.
I see.
But I think that the root of it is not like, oh, I want to get off. It's, oh, I want power over this thing that then gets me off. Because it does, the way they showed where the payphones are.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be really putting yourself, and these calls would last up to 3 hours sometimes. So it's hard to imagine somebody's whacking.
Yeah, I see.
Thing
yeah.
At a payphone for 3 hours in Florida.
I see what you're saying.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't have a transition, so I'm just gonna not even try.
Hard. I didn't give you a lot to work with there.
Well, how about this? One item of clothing I definitely want to put on is Jenny Kane clothing.
Absolutely, and
yes,
this will make you feel nice and safe and cozy.
Yes, it really will.
This documentary feels like.
I have loved Jenny Kane for years.
You have.
I've been
a big fan for a long time.
Big fan. I love the sweaters. I got attached to the fisherman sweaters, but they have cashmere. I love that the clothing tend to be like neutral tones, like very California
They're
chic.
Like capsule collection.
They really are. It's like the essentials for your wardrobe.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the classic, comfortable vibe, but super duper high quality. I was telling Sarah, because she said she got the shearling line boots, and I was like,
for those for a while.
They are a godsend because they're the only boots that are actually warm in the winter for me.
Yeah. And I told you, I'm not buying things that break down in a year or two anymore.
Yeah.
I'm over it because I keep doing that. And
it's tempting.
How many times am I going to be fooled? So now I want the things that are going to last me for forever. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm staring at right now like a dress that was my mom's from when she was like my age or younger.
Right.
And I'm like, back when they made clothes well. So let's do that again.
Right. So these are pieces that are going to last the test of time and look stylish year after year. And that's the kind of thing we're into, is like lasting forever. And there you can dress them up, dress them down, whatever. Find your favorite pieces at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code BRAINCANDY at checkout. That's 15% off your first order, JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code BRAINCANDY. New year, new us, and new clothes with Jenny Kane. Okay.
Okay, so in the same... Yeah, definitely, like, I think it's a don't miss documentary. Mm-hmm. I really do. And also I really loved that each episode provided something very different, and I felt every episode was necessary because it told a different part of the story. You know, recently I've been watching these, you know, documentaries that have been turned into 4-part, and I'm like, ugh, you could have done this in
Yes, I hate
one.
that.
What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there must be some... I was thinking about this. I'd spent a whole, afternoon, thinking about this. I was like, I wonder if it's like children's books where there's a format and you have to follow this many pages and somebody has to decide, is this going to be a 1.5 hour documentary? Is this going to be a 4-part series? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, so.
Yeah, I think
it's
there's a
whole thing.
lot that goes into deciding whether this is a feature film or a series or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so I really thought all 4 were.
part of why I turned it off, though, was because after watching the first one, I thought, 4 episodes of this, watching the surveillance footage, I can't do it.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. But then they told it's 4 different parts of the story.
Okay.
So the first one is kind of like what happened. The second part, I think, is like the chase to find who did it. Then is the lawsuit. Then it's the after.
Now
like,
what?
Now
Yeah.
what? And it
Yeah,
was just I just
'cause-
liked how they told all those parts. Like,
Why
all
do
the
you think
questions
that McDonald's or any of the restaurants did not notify managers? What do you think? They just didn't care? It didn't occur to them? Or do you think it was just like they didn't think it was that big of a deal?
I think they didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Can you imagine being butt naked? Is that it? Or buck?
I
Whatever.
think there's like no. McDonald's probably saw it as like not something that in a way they themselves were involved in. You know, like it's a phone call to the restaurant, but
Can you imagine being at like the DQ and working your shift and then having to take
No.
off your clothes in front of your weird manager?
I love that everybody who came to like the rescue was always like a person of color who's like, oh, hell no, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That every time they were like, no.
Well,
It was
'cause
like
they
everybody who rescued was
understand.
just like dumb.
Yeah, because white people are so invested in this authority hierarchy crap.
that they like lose their like
Sanity.
what's right and wrong.
Totally. But people that have been exploited by these organizations
Yes.
or systems are like, oh, no.
Like, that's not a thing. Just no.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, who got on the phone, and there was one guy, he wasn't a person of color, but he got on the phone and he was like, if you want to strip search somebody, you could come down here and pick her up and do it because this is not how the law works.
Good.
Yeah, we needed more of that person.
More of that
Good
energy.
Lord.
I, for
Yeah.
real, want more of that for myself because it does scare me how I could get trapped by stuff like this. I really do. I want more of that attitude in 2023.
That's
I'm gonna
good.
work
That
on
pulls
that.
into adventure.
It sure as heck does. Because
Yeah.
it can be really scary to stand up for yourself and say, like, I'm not doing that.
What a good point. That I like that.
Thank
That
you,
is
Sarah.
a good way to look at it. That is like it's like standing up and being like, no, I'm not going to do what everybody
Yeah.
else is doing. And
Well, think about it. This happens a lot where a system, whether it's law enforcement or a church or a school or whatever, these are authority figures that you're taught you're supposed to listen to no matter what. And that can be a real dangerous mentality.
absolutely.
Yeah, good reminder, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay, other little piece of news. I don't have a lot on this story because it's unfolding as we speak. But as of, I want to say like 3 or 4 days ago or so, the first case where AI is serving as public defender is taking place.
What?
Yes.
A robot?
Oh, correct.
Or as my mom says, robot. Even though I've told her that's not the word.
Fun fact, the word robot was invented in the Czech Republic, and if you go to the Czech Republic, you will be reminded of this by everybody in the Czech Republic.
Is that how you know they won't shut up about it?
It's kind of like, how do you know? Yeah.
You're telling me
Robots
that they
were
have
invented in the Czech
robot
Republic. Yes.
attorneys.
Yes, I'm saying this, that a robot AI, we have the first situation where a robot is going to be, so there's
This is shocking.
AI, kind of like a chatbot sort of technology that was developed called, I think it's called like Don't Pay That or Don't Pay Something, but it was developed to give legal advice. And it's called, Do Not Pay. It's called, Do Not Pay app. And for $36, you pay $36 for like 3 months or something like that. And it gives you legal advice. And so it began in 2015 as this like basic chatbot, but it's been getting smarter and learning all the information. And so now is going to serve as a public defender for someone in, I want to say it was Los Angeles too, in traffic court. No, in New York.
Oh my gosh, that is
It's a speeding
wild.
ticket hearing, and it's scheduled to take place in a New York courtroom in February.
Do you think that the reason they're doing it in that kind of a case is because, like, typically nobody has an attorney anyway?
Right.
It's
That
low
seems
stakes.
open and shut. It's like really. So if we can just look at
That's
how
cool.
did somebody do? Did they get what they are legally entitled to? And that's a fair and
That is
whatever
crazy.
that is. Because in a way, I think that this could be a situation where I like
Me
AI
too.
coming in. It
Yeah.
takes out a lot of the things that could, like the like all the bad shit.
Yeah, because
I'm sure there's new bad shit that comes with this.
There's a
but-
real shortage of public defenders.
Yes.
And what the result of that is that they cannot give attention to their clients, the ones that do exist. And so you have public defenders with hundreds of clients, and then people end up locked up for crap they didn't do. I would rather have a robot than some
Wouldn't
idiot.
you? Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. Who can go through all the legal, like, I don't know, the history
Yeah, they
of all the
scan
law
the
shit.
file cabinets,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Like, find all that. Give me it, like, relate it, like, find out what I need, do the thing. I don't know. A couple of those words are right.
Right.
Right now,
I
the
love this.
robot knows way more than me. So
That's true.
That's
That
what
is
we're
true.
learning.
And it was
I don't
probably more helpful than an overworked, underpaid public defender who has, is tired and
yes.
needs a break.
Absolutely. I
And-
think it'll give more people a fair trial. I did hear
Wow.
somebody say that this, like, chatbot can, like, it is a therapist to people, and I just about lost my shit. I was like, what do you mean? I'll kill it.
Listen, as long
Unplug
as they're
it
not
now.
podcast hosts, we'll be okay. Well,
Right.
What about...
Right. You can't replace podcasts, right?
No,
That's gonna be
you
at
can't get
least
this
50
chemistry.
years. You can't. Hello.
Sarah,
Hello.
what about a robot judge
I like this idea.
and jury?
Yes,
Because then they can't have biases, although they probably could.
I know.
'Cause they're based
because
on-
then it's like it's what right. Because then we need because remember when all those AI got racist.
Yes, because you know that thing that everyone got obsessed with, the AI images of themselves on
Yes.
Lensa?
Yes.
Well,
That was
all the
stupid.
women were like, why do they all have gigantic boobs? Okay. Well, the reason is because they get their info from
Oh my God, I
existing.
hate all of this.
Yeah, and that's what's online is all these big boobed ladies. And so the robot judge would be created by humans, and all the data
Yeah.
that we see this all the time. Technology can be racist.
Totally.
That's why lighting's messed up for people of color on photography.
Yep.
And I love reading about that because that is a thing that I would not notice because I'm a privileged white lady. So I have to be reminded, like, oh yeah, let's get a judge robot.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Took us
like,
a million years
Suze.
to figure out Band-Aids might need to come in another color. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
We're
how about we just get people of color judges? More of those.
Yeah. Let's start with that. Women, people of color.
We'll
Other
hold off on the
minorities.
robots.
Oh my God. Something else you were reminding me of.
The Lensa AI images.
Oh, yes, thank you. That thing is stupid.
I hate it.
Because I hate it too. Eli puts I did not want to put my photos in there, so I did not. Eli was like, just do it. So he paid the $5
Just do
or whatever. He uploaded 20 photos of me into that thing. Suze, the photos that stupid AI spit out,
Yeah.
not one of them looks like me.
Really?
Not a single one.
What do
They
you
are
think that is?
100 images of 100 different women.
Why? Why do you think?
I think I look too different in all my photos.
Yeah.
They couldn't put together a regular. They're like curly hair, straight hair. Ah!
Black hair, blonde hair?
Yeah, they couldn't figure it out, and I just make a lot of expressions in my photos. I think that it didn't know what.
Well,
to do.
Adam does talk about how you're so fun to photograph because of the way that your bone structure is. You can look a variety of different ways because of the way the light hits you. It really does change your face in different pictures.
Well, thank cute. Yes,
Yeah.
my face does look different all the time. And
That's
AI
so great.
Sometimes my face like ID is like no.
Yeah. Right.
If I put on makeup, it's like definitely not.
I mean, sometimes technology is amazing, and that is definitely true for Rocket Money.
I love it.
Love it.
I talked on about it on This Changed Everything, my other podcast. If you haven't heard that, but I save $158 a month now.
See?
158.
That is
That
so
adds up
awesome.
to buku bucks, and I only pay $5 a month for it. Okay.
I mean,
Hello.
it is really awesome because, like Sarah said, you're alerted of subscriptions and things that you have, and that you can choose like, wait, I don't need that. And then you push the button, it gets canceled, and then you save $158 or whatever.
And then they negotiated my other bill on my behalf. And
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. They got it down like, I don't know, it was something like $20-something.
That is
A lot.
so...
That's where it all came from. They were like, here, we have 3 other bills. Would you like us to negotiate these?
Yeah.
Negotiate.
See, this is what I mean. Robots can come
Fight
in
my
handy.
battles.
They don't need to be
I do
judges.
not want to negotiate any bills on my behalf.
Rocket Money used to be known as Truebill, and it's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. And you can stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/brainkitty. That's rocketmoney.com/brainkitty. rocketmoney.com/brainkitty. Super easy. You can try it for free for 30 days. It's like, it's as good as we're saying.
It's really, I love it. It keeps me, and it makes me feel a little like less anxious about
Exactly.
Sometimes I get overwhelmed with the idea of just like looking at the bills, so I don't, which doesn't help anything.
Right.
And then this just organizes it in a nice way that's like very friendly. Like, hey, just letting you know, 4 days from now, you got this thing. You
Nothing
cool
to be
with that
worried
still?
about.
Yeah. And then if I'm like, oh no, I don't need that anymore because there was a $79 a month subscription that I needed to cancel. And it notified me, and then I did it before it charged me for something. I wasn't
take
using.
that.
Woo! Yes. So great.
With those Lensa app AI photos, I almost did a tweet, but then I didn't. I have a new policy where if I have something I want to say, I wait a whole day because I don't. Well, because you, like, if let's say you have a glass of wine, right, and you think this is going to be a great tweet. Well, if it's so great, you'll want to tweet it tomorrow. So I was going to tweet, but then didn't, about how like. You guys know that you don't look like those pictures, right? Because, like, I think people really started to think, like,
they do
hot.
think they look like, yeah.
And I wanted to be like, you're not. You don't look like that.
No.
And that's okay.
Cool. They're like an artistic render of, like, it's like a caricature. Like a
but people were posting them being like, hey, look how hot I am. And I want to be like, you're not.
That's like posting a filtered selfie as you're like this is, look how hot. Yeah, right. We all look good when we are put through algorithms and like.
We all look good when we do not look like ourselves.
Right. But then I noticed that the AI, it does things that are weird that I don't think that like a human would be able to notice. Like Eli has a cool picture, but his teeth are pointy.
No, like a
like
vampire.
human artist would be like, square those suckers off.
Wonder
You
why.
look like a weirdo. It's like it's almost like the image has been duplicated and then shifted, so it kind of looks like a shadow or like a 3D kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they like shifted it and then tilted the teeth, and it just there's something about it that just like is like. This is different.
Yeah, that's questionable. Then you had the people who were like, thought that it was, to get facial recognition, images that then could be used against you someday. I mean, maybe that's the case, but that's not why I didn't do it.
Yeah. And also like you think we're starting now with this?
Yeah, I got bad news for you.
But yeah, bad news. You ever been to an airport?
That's what I always think when people say that about a sponsor or something. Like they are irresponsible.
Every single face. Your face. Have you been to any public place? Yeah, your face is in. We're
doomed, okay?
Yeah.
We're doomed.
But it's okay because we have AI to defend us.
Yeah, right.
Situation.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. This was kind of cute. I felt like this would be a fun one that you could pass on to Lincoln.
Okay.
I read a whole article that talked about a couple different studies on high tops versus low tops.
Okay. Studies.
Studies.
Okay.
Well, you have to think about this, that the sneaker industry, there's a lot of money there. And we've talking about like sneaker industry, like for professional athletes.
Yeah.
They are definitely putting those dollars into seeing which one is keeping their athletes the healthiest and the safest.
Yeah.
Because ankle injuries, sprained ankles, that is the number one injury in sports. So funny because I thought like I was such a loser when I had a sprained ankle. I'm like, who sprains their ankle? And Eli's like, literally every professional athlete. Relax.
Yeah, it's so common.
Yeah. So it's a very important like injury to try to prevent. So there have been a bunch of studies that have been
and
done
I would have thought
to
high
see-
tops were the solution. I would have thought
so
that
too.
Yeah.
So high tops were developed in I want to say it was like it was like right after basketball was created, which kind of makes sense. But in the beginning, it was 1891 that basketball was invented, and Spalding were the first ones to make basketball shoes, and they made the high top.
Wow.
But they
I
made
thought
it
it was
high
Converse.
Well, that came out very close, not too long after. That was like the next one. So Spalding was the first one. They made the basketball shoe out of canvas. There was a high top, but it was a high top. Probably like people are fashion historians said that the real reason they were ankle covering sneakers in the first place was that it was a reflection of the ankle boots that men were wearing at the time. So it had nothing to do with basketball or how good it was for the sport. It had more to do with the fact that fancy men were wearing fancy, schmancy lace-up boots, and they wanted the athletic shoes to reflect that. So then in 1917, that's when Converse All-Stars debuted. And then in 1934, they became known as Chuck Taylors. And they had a thinner rubber sole, and they were still that same, canvas material.
Yeah.
Then it was I want to say it was like the 90s, where Nike came out with a Kobe Bryant sneaker. And the Kobe Bryant sneaker was the first one to be a low-cut basketball shoe that was done as a basketball shoe. High tops just reigned forever because that's what they assumed was the right shoe for it. But when you look at studies on how high tops versus low tops affect players, there was a study that was done of 622 college players, and they found absolutely no difference in the rates of ankle injuries between high and low tops.
How is that possible?
Yeah, there weren't, because it doesn't do much to contain the ankle or really prevent injury. Some basketball players said that it did prevent your heel from skidding on the floor, like if you fall and then the skin kind of skids along the floor, but it's a personal preference thing. And they said the thing that really determines which is going to be, which a player is going to be more successful in, high tops versus low tops, is how they feel putting them on.
Stop it.
Yes.
Okay. This is like what your mom was saying about having a poor mentality.
Right. Like you got to feel, they're like, if you feel like high tops are the shoes, like the PF Flyers, they make every kid run faster, jump higher, If you believe that, those are the shoes that are going to be better for you.
I hate that.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, no difference. 50-50 split.
Huh.
And they did the same thing. There was a larger study from 2001 where the researchers looked at 10,000 Australian basketball players and did not find high or low tops to be a major risk factor for ankle injuries. In fact, the thing that was more linked to whether they had ankle injuries was the player stretching before the game and the presence of air cells in the shoes. And that's the thing that created those Jordan pumps that
Wait, those are Reeboks. Those were Reeboks.
Who came out with them? Yes, it's like the era. Yeah. They said in the article, like the era of Air Jordan.
So that was real. That wasn't pretend.
No, the cushion was really the thing. And I think this study came out maybe after. Don't you feel like 2001 was kind of after the Air Jordan? Yeah. So they were looking at that afterwards.
Air cells. So that actually was. It's like when something shipped to you in that air pack.
Yeah. Yeah, which
Oh.
makes total sense. And then later in the article, they talk about how the thing that really prevents ankle injuries is, like they said, stretching the player's ankle mobility and wrapping it before a game. Like if you really want to do it, then you have to wrap it with like.
Do they all
gauze,
do that?
Kinda. I think a lot of them do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just like adds some stiffness. Like you really need to have that ankle like tight in there if it's not. Even in my snowboard boots, I was trying to give my legs a break, so switched the direction I was riding, and totally ate it. And like it was. I was
Well,
like,
that
oh
sounds really hard.
Yeah, and I like banged.
You
I was
faced the
like, oh,
opposite
my
direction?
ankle. Like I didn't even think you could hurt your ankle inside snowboard boots that are like how are they even moving? But
yeah.
I did. I don't know what I was doing.
It's so funny that
I should be able to do that at by now, but I can't. I'm still new.
Well, hey, I think that sounds really hard. So I'm impressed that you can even snowboard.
Oh, thanks, Susan.
I think it's funny that this stretching actually works because you know how like on the challenge when we're about to do something and everyone starts stretching and I always hate it. I'm like, okay, we get it. You're stretching. Usually it's because like we don't actually start for like 2 hours.
Correct.
And as soon as we get on site, people start like stretching and doing this whole performance.
It's so an anxiety thing.
Okay. That
For
makes
sure.
sense.
Anxiety / psych people, they feel like, I think what it comes down to is not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
So it's the same as like if you go to a bar, I got to order a drink and hold a drink in my hand or something like that. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If I just stood there like a freaking weirdo, like
Yeah.
I would get more anxious and I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
How the
Probably
heck
would
does a
start
person
stretching in the
stretch
middle of
their
a bar.
ankle anyway? What do you do? Like circles?
You could do circles. You can also do an exercise where you keep your foot planted on the ground and you are on like one knee, kind of like you're going to propose kind of thing, and you lean forward as much as you can so that your knee extends over the big toe. Mm-hmm. And then you can go backwards, kind of like forward, side, and then you can kind of roll your foot and roll over your ankle a little bit. Even the motion, I have a friend who's a physical therapist. Oh, she's so fantastic. And she has some great online videos, and she has one, and she works with like NFL players, so she like deals with ankle injuries a whole bunch. And she said just the action of standing up with no hands from a like crisscross leg position rolls over your ankles and stretches them, so that provides good benefits to like ankle mobility and stretching.
Huh.
Yeah, got to be
Good thing I
practicing
don't work
standing up
out.
from a seated position all the time, like on the ground.
I know. I always say I read that in a book one time, and it's really stuck with me that like how old people always end up like breaking a hip or whatever, and it's because they don't continue to use the muscles required to get up from the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should be doing that. The other one that I've read about is grip strength.
Yeah, man, that's a predictor of
That's
longevity.
Yes, that's so crazy to me because I feel like the older I get, the more that is like, and I think because I'm not writing as much as when I was in college, things like that. That don't you feel like your hand cramps up fast? Is it just me? Is that a thing that happens?
I don't
Do you
have
get that?
cramps, but I'm sure mine's weakening by the second
By the second.
as I make that slow march to death.
Oh, like we all do. Good thing I have little tools or Susie puts fun things in my stocking, like my squishy ball that I'm using right now.
Wait, I put that in your stocking?
Yeah, I love this.
Wait a minute. This year?
You put fun stuff in there. It's just like a little. It's like a
Wow.
stress reliever.
Oh,
ball.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
yeah.
fidget ball thing.
Yes, we
I
have a
love
lot
it.
of those.
It's great. Keeps me from biting my nails.
Oh, that's nice.
You give the best gifts that like I don't know if you know how they're going to be life-changing gifts for me. Like my sleep condom that you gave me. I don't know how else to describe this thing.
Oh, yeah, what's that thing called?
It's like a sleep sack where you sleep in it, but it
was on
like
Shark
sucks
Tank.
you in and makes you nice and tight. It's the best.
People love that thing.
Thing is awesome.
And you actually use it, you're
Yes.
telling me.
Yes.
Not every night, though.
Only when I'm sleeping by myself. I don't use it with
Yeah.
Eli. But when
That's
I'm
good.
because he holds me. So
That
when
would
I
be
need
so
somebody
weird
else,
if you got into that, like a cocoon.
like, bye.
Good night, Eli.
good night. I'm
I
going
can
into my
picture you
sack.
doing it.
I'll see you later.
And you feel comforted by that.
So comforted. I go to sleep in 2 seconds.
Wow.
It's very strange. I know. It's very weird, but it's wonderful.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad you like it. You betcha.
Stress relief ball. It's going to probably help with my grip strength and everything like that. Okay. What else? Do I have one more thing that we could squeeze in here? We talked about the shoes, ankle boots. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Wait a minute. Just one more thing about the shoe thing. Oh, so were they only considering ankle injuries or all injuries?
Ankle injuries. They were looking at... That's a good question.
I wonder if that matters in any other injuries.
Yeah.
But we'll never know.
We will never know. So if you ever are in an argument with somebody about high tops versus low tops...
Yeah, I would have lost that argument.
You're going to have to shake hands. Yeah. Yeah. Don't you feel like Lincoln would like that fact?
Absolutely. See, we talk a lot about shoes.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I figured. So that's why I was like, ooh, saving this one. Got to bring it up.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
I was reading Scientific American, those magazines, and they always do a theme, and the theme for this one was high. So which
H-I or H-I-G-H?
H-I-G-H. Okay. And so the high tops was something they talked about.
Oh, that's fun.
And surprisingly, no marijuana.
Yeah, I thought that's where this is going.
I really did too, but it was more about like altitude and things like that. And like there was an article on getting over a fear of heights.
What'd they say?
It started with a story about how an Amazon executive holds the record for highest jump, which is crazy to me that they. You'd think it'd be like a professional athlete.
You know those freaking tech bros.
I do. They're the same ones who climb Mount Everest. They're that guy.
They are that guy.
Yeah. And he took he was like in a spacesuit, and he took a hot air balloon up to like the stratosphere, whatevs.
I remember seeing that video. I didn't know he worked at Amazon.
Out. Yeah. Just jumped to Amazon warehouse.
My God. Can you imagine doing that?
No! I
wonder
can't.
what that felt
but then this article tried to argue that, like, if you know the techniques, anyone could do it. And I was like, well, okay. And so, and I'm like, I get it. Like, the article was based a lot on, like, cognitive behavioral stuff. It was like, what's happening in your body is you are having a natural fear reaction to a cliff, the edge of something. And your brain is sending signals that you're in danger, so then your body responds. And what you have to do, we all know this, to stop that cascade of events is tell your body you're safe and take deep breaths and regulate your breathing.
Sarah has taught me, I don't know if it was in Body Keeps the Score. No, it was that one with that zebras.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Ulcers.
Yeah, about how we think that our heart is racing because we're afraid, but really we're afraid because our heart is racing.
Yeah.
And I always think about on the challenge, I don't know which one it was, but there was a season where they had a challenge where they had to stand up way up high, and they were timed, and whenever their heart rate was low or normal, then the floor would drop out and they would bungee. But they couldn't, the floor wouldn't drop until their heart rate was normal. But you can't get your heart rate to be normal when you know the floor is going to drop out.
It's about to drop out.
And I always think, like, what would I do to, trick my heart into stopping that palpitation or whatever, racing?
I think you tell yourself the floor is dropping out right now and everything's going to be fine and it's okay and it's going to happen. And let's take some deep breaths and imagine yourself just kind of, and so you calm yourself
that can take
down.
A long time, though.
Oh, especially if I'm jumping out of something at the stratosphere level.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's just funny. The article was not very long. It was probably like 3 paragraphs. But I feel like that was like a big jump, pun not intended, to go from fear of heights to skydiving.
Yeah.
And the article argues that one of the ways that well, of course, one of the things that we need in this getting over a fear of something is exposure therapy. But that a tool that has been very helpful with this is virtual reality.
Right.
Yeah, that safe danger helps us get over.
Okay.
Because
like roller coasters would be safe danger, usually. And so like some people are very afraid of roller coasters. Mm-hmm. What do we do for them? They start small, go to Kittyland?
Yeah, I start in a virtual reality simulated roller coaster.
Well, because when
you get off that and then you go, you're telling your brain you're going to live.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Remember when we went to do trapeze?
Yes.
On Santa Monica Pier, and my sister went, and she has a fear of heights. In fact, she's the one that organized the whole thing. She wanted to do it.
Because she probably wanted to face that fear.
She really did. But and she did technically. She did it one time.
She did it.
But I remember, and whenever she would get scared and not go on roller coasters, I would always say to her, like, what is the fear? Like, what do you think you're going to die? But usually when it's that person in that moment, they can't rationalize it.
You just know your heart's beating fast.
Yeah.
And then when your heart's beating fast, your brain is like, I must be in danger. And it just keeps itself going.
Yeah.
So if you can control that next thought to say, I'm not in danger. I'm safe. Yeah. Everything is okay. Then your body can just pause and go, oh, yeah? Okay. And then you just have to believe that.
That's so hard.
So hard.
Even with Lincoln, he has fears. And we try to do all this, try to reason with him. Yeah. But the person has to want to do it.
And exposure therapy, I think, is really, it's like you have to, in small ways.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Rock climbing in one of those gyms if it's heights. Mm-hmm. And you just, and then I think it's that accepting that you are biologically programmed to freak the fuck out if you're at the edge of a cliff. So if you can, like I always say, you're not responsible for your first thought or your first feeling. You're responsible for your second thought and your first action. Mm-hmm. So if you have that thought of, oh my God, I'm going to die, and that feeling of panic, of adrenaline or fear, terror, as you get to the edge of a cliff, that's fine. That is normal. That's not going to go away. The second thought of, you're safe. You've been at a cliff before and you haven't died. That's the one that is the second thought that then kind of changes things.
What's your fear? I always forget your biggest fear.
Being trapped on the International Space Station is kind of unrealistic.
Yeah, what else do you have that you're afraid of?
It is that, like, I realized it's kind of like that being trapped somewhere
spiders.
with no escape.
Or cockroaches. Things that scurry.
Things that scurry.
Mysterious wetness. Yeah.
Mysterious wetness and things that scurry, if we're going to, list them.
Yeah. I was just trying to think, but does it exposure? I'm sure you've been exposed plenty to things that scurry. Any progress there?
You know what? There's a mouse in this house. The house I live in. My garage. It's fine. It's chill. And I'd be in my garage too. It's fucking freezing outside. I'm like, guys, it's okay. Seek shelter.
Oh, yeah. But you don't want to hang out with it.
And it was so tiny. And I know when there's one, there's more. Okay, it's fine. But I've only seen one. And now I used to be really scared to go in my garage. But then I went, I reminded myself of how when I was in Sequoia National Park and I was in front of, I think it's General Sherman or something like that big ass tree. There was a sign that said, right now, you feel the same as how a mouse feels when they look up at a 5'8" man or something like that.
Right.
A woman, person. And I was like, what? That shit's terrifying. And it moves? I'm scared of this tree and it is firmly planted in the ground and it's a tree. And I feel kind of intimidated by it. We're fine. That little mouse is so scared of me. So,
but I wish spiders felt that way, or like bees. We're really big and they do not care.
Yeah, but they can kill you.
Yeah, some of them, spiders.
And now I've changed my tune on bee. What do you call them? Not bites, stings. Oh, I don't know what happened to my brain there. That was weird. It's like, almost at the end of this episode. Time to check out. Bye. Yeah, so bee stings, I've recently heard from a lot of people that they are very painful and very scary, and so I apologize, and I now you're right. They're probably terrible.
Yeah, if they affect you that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I felt
I was being
pain.
a big old jerk about bees.
Well,
Yeah,
you didn't
what's
have
the
that
problem?
experience.
Yeah, so
How would you know, Sarah? Don't you be
I
too
don't-
hard
I
on
didn't
yourself.
know. I didn't know.
She's so nice, isn't she?
I'm just trying to learn, trying to grow, change.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I got things to do.
Yeah,
Stupid. Yeah, let's wind it down. Here's what we talked about.
high tops versus low tops, your choice.
My gosh. And then like the hoax nightmare.
God,
That
nightmare. But don't watch the doc.
I'm going to have to do a
Worth it.
poll to hear whether people think they would comply
Yeah.
if they were in that position.
What really frustrates me about that is that some people did not some people were charged and found guilty, and other people with different attorneys and were found not guilty.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And like nobody was communicating or talking about how like,
That's why for a minute I thought maybe the robot judge would work out. Cause,
that is a
know,
good call. Like,
but not so.
gotta like somehow best of both worlds. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. In the
Probably on the
meantime,
next episode.
whatever you guys do not tell the curly girl community that Sarah has betrayed them. Shh. Hush. Be sure to check out our candy store on thebraincandypodcast.com. That's also where you can sign up for our newsletter. We have patreon.com/braincandy, which is where all of our bonus content lives, and we have our lives and all that shenan.
Yeah, you can like hang out with us, chit chat, tell us funny jokes.
Yeah.
Tell us your feelings and opinions on whatever we talk about on here. I know you guys have thoughts and opinions and things you want to talk about, so you can join our live Q&As, our doc club, our book club.
All of it.
We do a lot of chit-chatting, so
We love you guys.
and we'll see you
See you
next
next
time.
time.
Bye.